72,000 shield Ajax. That's a beefy boy. Q-Tank Dead Bride Glove. Brother. Oh, she just stomped us. We just out-regen her damage. She stomped on us again. So it's not like she's getting close to killing us. Like, we're chilling at 72,000 shield and we just out-regen her damage. She's literally peppering us. We just don't care. Can we take Gluttony? Oh, he slapped me. Ow, Mr. Gluttony. Ow.
Why am I feeling so alone? Everything is so cold. I'm a mess now, you're gone. Someone help me. Holding on, 'cause I still feel your hello, hello. I know that I'm living with ghosts. I feel your presence everywhere I go. I live in the shadows, I still hope, but you're not there. I spend my
Yo guys, what is up? Mike's in our first Descendant video, and today we're going over my updated guide to Ultimate Ajax. Now, Ajax has been one of my favorite Descendants to play, and he's even stronger after this recent update. Ajax never built well into crit, and with the new like non-crit modules, he can just hit so much harder. We're one-tapping most enemies in 400% dungeons, except for the elites. We have the ability damage to kill elites. We have a setup for him that is hitting over 60,000 shield easily. A few other things that happen for Ajax is the new set that drops from Deathstalker is perfect for him, and Deathstalker is kind of a boss that you want to build into shields, and no one builds into shields quite like Ajax, with a like kind of setup to buff up his shields as much as possible. We were able to hit 90,000 shields on him, which is just disgusting. He can face tank Deathstalker. It's really like difficult. Like, you can actively just run into as much damage as you want and not die on him. It's pretty disgusting. So I hope you guys enjoy the build video. Let's get right into it. So the first build to talk about is our Shieldjax build, and there's actually two kind of playstyles that I want to talk about, both the Shieldjax and the Gunjax, both of which I've got built into shields. Specifically for Deathstalker, my like old Gunjax build that goes full HP is still really good, just not as good for Deathstalker. But I kind of wanted to show you guys the difference of the two builds, and then you can decide which one you like more so that you can play that build. So to start us off, we're going to be on the Shieldjax build. This is going to be using Body Enhancement. Now, Body Enhancement reads that it increases our max HP, defense, and max shield, and using the skill, fully restores void energy. However, skill cooldowns and skill costs increase. So with this, we're going to want a lot of cooldown. We're going to got skill cost reduction, so we can negate those negative effects. But basically, the way that this build works is we're going to be getting a bunch of more HP, a bunch of extra defense, and a bunch of shield increase. Now, the HP is super impactful because we're going to be using overwhelming shields, which converts a lot of our extra HP into max shield. HP is a lot easier to build into because the values that you can roll on HP are just way higher. For example, you can get like 646 HP on a component and only like 275 shield. So it's really easy to build up a bunch of HP, and that's what this setup is going to do. Both setups are actually going to be overwhelming shield, but the max HP increase is huge there, and then the shield increase is great as well. Now, the kind of rotation that you want to do on this is you're going to press any of your other buttons, your 1, your 3, or your 4, whatever you feel like clicking, given this scenario, and then you're going to use your Enhanced Leap. Now, the Enhanced Leap on the Body Enhancement build is going to give us an additional 103% shield and 2.5% continuous shield recovery. This, when on this build with the amount of shield that we're going to be building, gives us about 1,700 shield a second. Which is disgusting. You will out-heal the damage that Deathstalker does to you, like the poison dot that he applies is hitting for about less than half of that. So you will just out heal the poison dot while your shield is going. And so that's kind of what this setup is. So let's grab our full shield. I'll just cast this ability so it goes away. But as you can see, I have 54,000 shields right now. If I hit my third ability, now I'm going to get instantly enhanced abilities. And then when I hit my jump, now we're at around like 63.6k shields. So you can do your like barrier to get your enhanced. You can hit your 1, you can hit your 3, whatever you want, but you're always going to want to be using your enhanced skill as your second ability, so that you can always keep up your shield regen and get that extra 100% shield. This is the comfiest of the Ajax builds, where you literally just can't die during Deathstalker. And I want to show you the like other build, the Gunjax build first, and then you can kind of decide which one you want to build into. So the Gunjax build is very similar and actually achieves a similar amount of shield, but it's a little bit more of a complicated setup, and definitely requires more active and thoughtful play rather than the Shieldjax build. You just kind of hold down the trigger of your Enduring Legacy and hit your jump button every, you know, few seconds. And so with Gunjax, we're going to be using Matrix Recomp. This changes our third ability. So now this is going to give us 252% shield increase amount and 5% continuous shield recovery whenever we're using the like enhanced 3. So that is disgusting. And the 2 still gives us the 103 max shield and the 2.5% shield recovery. So this build, while it isn't going to hit quite as much shield, actually has a ton of shield recovery, and it's really, really hard to die on this setup as well, but you have to be using your abilities properly. So the big thing with Matrix Recomp is while it's going to buff your shields, it's also going to buff your teammates, which one is fantastic if you're playing in a group. This is how we hit like 90,000 shield, is I was playing a Shieldjax and I had someone else jump on Gunjax with the Matrix Recomp and give me the shield buff on the Shieldjax build, and that's how we got to so much shield. But on this setup, you're going to want to stick close to your teammates, one, to buff them, but also to proc Passionate Sponsor. Passionate Sponsor is going to give us firearm damage stacking amounts, and we're also going to be using Shot Focus to give us a bunch of extra firearm damage. This will allow you to deal a ton of damage in your fights, as well as buffing your allies, and we've still got a bunch of shield. We're going to be using Overwhelming Shield, Stim Accelerant, Increased HP, Increased Shield, and Amplification Control to stack up a bunch of shield. It's not quite as much as the Shieldjax, and there's like other things that you could do if you wanted to get more tanky and deal less damage, but I kind of wanted to have this be a high damage setup. But kind of the different thing with the rotation here is you need to be activating your skills more often and more frequently so that you can get those enhanced abilities. So let's say we're just starting out from fresh here. So I'm only starting with a base of 23,000 HP, right? Which, you know, at the grand scheme of things is still a lot of shield. But now we're going to want to get to our enhanced abilities. Let's pop the jump. So now we've got the enhanced 3 ready for us, so we can click that. That's going to bring us all the way to 43,000 shield, basically instantly. And then if we can, you know, pop the rest of our abilities, now we've got another enhanced ability use. As you can see, like, you kind of need to keep this up, but now we're at 32,000. We can proc this, and boom, now we're at 52,000 shield. So as you can see, it's definitely like a playstyle where you need to be activating your abilities more. You can just kind of click your third ability, which is the ability that's going to be buffing you and your teammates, and you can just click that to get yourself buffed up. That's probably what I would recommend. You don't really need to click your 1 and 4. The big downside to playing a shield build on Ajax, unfortunately, is your barrier still does not scale off of your shield. It scales off of your HP and your defense, and your 1 does not scale off of your HP and defense. That's why when we are playing Ajax, normally for not Deathstalker, we don't build into shield because we want our barriers to be able to tank hits on both the Gunjax and the Shieldjax build. Unfortunately, because we're not building HP and defense, like, your barriers aren't really doing all that much, so you're kind of just mainly focusing on, you know, standing around and shooting the boss rather than trying to like protect you and your teammates from damage, because most of your barriers are going to kind of get one-tapped. But that is the difference between the Gunjax and the Shieldjax build. Shieldjax more cozy. You can't really mess it up, and you will not die. Versus the Gunjax build, more active playstyle, but you'll deal more damage. You're a little bit more squishy, but you've also got buffs for your teammates. And this is the Shieldjax build. We're going to be grabbing Biosync Shield, which is a fantastic mod. Even though it reads that it converts 70% of our HP recovered upon acquiring an HP orb to shield recovery, this allows us to get a bunch of shield back, and it's actually I think it's healing around like 20,000 shield when I'm picking one up, because it does seem to scale off of our max HP. Even though our HP is 1, it's like what our HP would be. And then on this, even though HP conversion technically lowers our max HP on an overwhelming shield build, this is the highest amount of HP that we can get is with this and our shield mod, and then 2 HP mods. So trust me when I say that this mod is definitely worth slotting if you're trying to get a ton of HP, or sorry, shield, amplification control for range and max shield. And then the interesting thing here is I actually decided to go for maximized conservation because body enhancement makes our skills cost so much. And in order to get our regen, we need to cast 2 skills, right? And if you can't cast your skills, is the only time that you could possibly die on the Shieldjax build, is when you can't cast your enhanced sleep to give you 17,000 shield recovery a second. And so originally, the build was going to look like this. And you can still absolutely do this. You can go for the perfect anti-venom, which is poison immunity, and then take this off, and then here you would go Biosync Shield, in my opinion. You could go conservation there, but Biosync Shield's really, really nice. And now you're getting your poison immunity, you're getting your toxic resistance up. The only thing is to cast 2 skills is going to cost us like 80 mana to cost 2 skills, which you kind of want to do. And the only time that you're dying is when you can't cast your skills. So that's kind of why I opted for maximized conservation, is because if you're using your abilities, the poison doesn't matter. You actually just out heal it. And so that's kind of why I went for maximized conservation on the Shieldjax build. These are the mods for the Gunjax build if you want to copy them. Similar kind of deal. I did grab maximized conservation because you want to be casting all of those skills. Still got amplification control. The big difference here is that we are not getting HP conversion on the Gunjax build, which is giving us a little bit less shield. Obviously, if you wanted to lose like a shot focus or a passionate sponsor, you could, or you could lose amplification control, but I wouldn't lose this because you need the range to buff your teammates. And the whole point of this is that it's a gun build, so I wouldn't drop passionate or shot focus. And so that is our setup there. For the like HP version of Gunjax, if you're not fighting Deathstalker, you can just rock an HP version, where, you know, we're just swapping out some of the shield mods. We're going to add things like Sensory Depth, which makes it that we take 13% less damage, so we're even tankier. We're going to add in defense mods so that we get our like barriers all scale off of our defense and HP. So adding defense is super important. We're still rocking shot focus and passionate sponsor and maximize conservation and cooldown and range, so that we can buff our teammates. This is just kind of the same build, just if you want to play it as an HP build or a shield build. And that is the like HP Gunjax. Our next build is for the 400% dungeons. Now, the Descendant module, I know this is going to sound weird, but is genuinely up to you. You can either use Void Explosion or Void Charge. Void Charge gives you a second Ajax leap, and you can jump around infinitely, just draining hardly any mana and hitting everything. And this is my preferred way to play Ajax. I just find it more fun. Void Explosion is like higher damage and hits in the same amount of radius. So that's also really good. You can kind of use whichever one you want. Personally, I'm going to be using Void Charge because I just like the jumping jacks kind of playstyle. But the update to this build is now we are going to be using non-attribute amplification. This is going to give us additional power, but it's specifically non-attribute skill power, which means we don't want to use focus on non-attribute, because focus on non-attribute is also non-attribute skill power. If we stack up both of these things, we are actually going to be kind of getting too much of a good thing. Whereas if we get 2 different multipliers, we're going to be increasing our damage way more. So we're going to be using power increase to give us flat skill power and non-attribute to give us specific skill power. And this will net us out like 17% more damage than if we were going to be using focus on non-attribute, which is awesome. We're still keeping the maximized range and skill expansion so we can have full range. We've got nimble fingers and MP conversion for the full cooldown. This is our damage row. For the 400% dungeons, personally, I like running double HP mods. It's just super cozy. You can sit in bosses' faces and not have to worry about it. We're sitting at around like 26 to 30,000 HP on Ajax, which is disgusting. We're going to be using maximized conservation, even though it is a 400% dungeon and there's a lot of mana. You are a skill spammer, so conservation helps out a lot. And then we're lastly just going to be using focus on tech to give us a little bit of extra modifier, but more importantly, the more cooldown. Now, you may be wondering, hey, why are you not using the new mod? Because we're not using the like tech amplification. And that's simply because, one, we don't have a ton of space. And two, this is only a 9% damage increase for this build. So it's not really like a game changer. It's more important to get the power. We already have a lot of modifier. We're getting a lot of extra modifier from focus on tech. So throwing this into the setup is, if you wanted to, you would replace HP amplification with tech amplification, but then you go down to like 15,000 HP and 26,000 HP. To me personally, feels better. I'd rather never die than have like 9% more damage. And so that is our 400% build. We're doing the exact same thing for like invasion dungeons. Once again, like you could use this setup for either. The big difference here is because now all of a sudden, instead of having to work with Void Charge, where we have a 500 or like 600 modifier, we now have a over 1,000 modifier to work with. Modifier is even less valuable to us. And so we're going to be using Spear and Shield for more power increase and more defense. On this setup, we're getting to like 26k HP and 20,000 defense. So you're even more tanky, but you're still dealing a lot of damage. Modifier is just not really valuable to us when our modifier is already over 1,000, and modifier is just additive. If you wanted to do normal mobbing, the only change that you would do to like the 400% build, I haven't recatalyzed this yet, is you would lose HP amplification and just slap on MP collector so that whenever you're killing enemies, you can get mana back. For like trash mobbing, it's more important that you can always spam your abilities rather than having 26,000 HP. You're not going to die with 16,000 HP on Ajax. So you don't really need the like extra HP module for trash mobbing. 1 HP module will be more than enough. And then you can run MP collector plus maximize conservation to run around infinitely and jump infinitely as Ajax. Now for the rest of the fun stuff, the weapons, the reactors, the Secret Garden is still Ajax's best weapon, in my opinion. That's because the Secret Garden has the ability that it has Gardener, that whenever you cast a tech skill, you grant pest control. Pest control gives us increased gun damage, but more importantly, 37% increased skill damage, which is disgusting for Ajax because on builds like the jumping jacks, you're just going to be jumping around constantly, proccing tech skills. So you're getting a ton more damage there. You can technically use the Peacemaker with that if you don't have a Secret Garden. The Secret Garden, you need to proc his third ability, which will proc the Dimension, and then you can stack up non-attribute damage. I just think the Secret Garden is technically a better version of the Peacemaker, specifically for Ajax, because it's easier to operate. And then I never leave home, never leave the house without my trusty Enduring Legacy on Ajax. Once again, the build for this has not changed. The only thing I do on this build is I swap out Fire Enhancement for Edging Shot if I'm going to be fighting anything that is like resistant to fire damage, but the Enduring Legacy build has not changed from my build guide out quite a long time ago. One thing to note about this, though, is if you are planning on using your skills a lot on him, like let's say you're going to be trying to do the shield Gunjax, you kind of need to cast your skills more often. For that, I do recommend swapping from Sharp Precision Shot to Mental Focus. Sharp Precision Shot is the higher damage option on the Enduring Legacy, but that doesn't really matter if you're having to interrupt it constantly to use your abilities. So if you are playing the like shield Gunjax, you can swap out sharp precision shot to mental focus so that when you cast your abilities, you don't lose out on any damage. I think I forgot to mention it, but this is my build for the Secret Garden on Ajax. It differs from the one on Freyna. We're going to be using Sweeping Squad so that whenever we're killing enemies with our abilities, we're going to be stacking up its damage. So we just get a free like 30% increased firearm attack, focus fire, insight focus. We just kind of want this thing to hit a bunch of damage for us when our abilities are down, or we need a little bit of extra kick of damage. But most of the time, the Secret Garden is just kind of dormant while we're holding it and attacking, and the Enduring Legacy is what's really going to kick up the damage for us. For the Reactor for mobbing, I was using a Secret Garden non-attribute tech boost ratio with tech skill power and skill range. I think my perfect Reactor would probably be tech skill power and cooldown. I think that would be really nice. Range is nice. Skill cost is nice. Tech boost ratio and non-attribute boost ratio would be really nice. Ajax has definitely a lot of options. I'd probably kind of make sure that you have a damage increase there because Ajax really wants as much damage as possible. Cooldown is also nice to have. And then for like bossing, obviously you don't care about your damage or your skills anymore. So I always just whip out this bad boy with skill duration up and skill cooldown. It's just nice to have. Technically don't really need the duration, but gold cooldown in any sort of bossing scenario is really nice. Ideally, perfect roll would be gold cooldown and gold skill cost reduction so that you can use your abilities easier. For the components for Ajax, you're really going to want to try to farm For the components for Ajax, you're really going to want to farm a good two-piece invader set. Now, the invader set is really awesome for Ajax, and it drops from Deathstalker. If you farm up a good version of this, you're going to really enjoy it because the invader set is, one, going to give us more max shield. Two, its 4-piece set bonus is when you defeat an enemy, you get skill duration and you get tech skill power and dimension skill power modifier, both of which Ajax really likes. But the super cool thing about the Invader set is it's actually one of the only sets in the game that rolls max HP on every single piece. So you're not really losing any survivability by going for a 4-piece bonus, which is really, really nice. I personally am not rocking the 4-piece bonus on this just because the sensor and the memory roll slightly less than max HP values as the implicit. So, for example, this volcanic sensor will roll 646 HP versus the sensor will always roll 162 HP less. And the memory will always roll 162 HP less. So for me to get the max amount of shield, you're gonna want the power, which max rolls HP, and the processor, which max rolls HP, both with max shield and HP. And if you can get that going, then now when we jump, we get to 73,000 shield, which is just disgusting. And once again, the more shield that we get, more survivability, but we also get more shield regen per second from our enhanced sleep for the build, which is very, very, very nice. But Invader set, ideally, you roll with max HP, and you're looking for mana recovery out of combat, which is nice here. On the processor, you want max shield, and ideally, a shield recovery modifier. If I put this processor on, this is my better one. A little bit less max shield, but I get shield recovery modifier, which is super helpful because this actually increases the amount of shield that you recover from your abilities, not just like on the ground stuff or your passive shield regen. So your abilities will actually give you more shield if you have shield recovery modifier on. On your memory, you're just looking for MP recovery and defense, and then on your sensor, you're ideally getting max MP and MP recovery in combat would be your god tier components. Guys, that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Ajax is a awesome character. He is, with the new shield metas things that he can do, he is incredibly tanky, and while he may not clear content as fast as some of the other characters, he is going to do it way more comfortably. There just isn't really much anything that can kill him in the game right now. So if you're looking for a character who can dish out a bunch of damage, clear content relatively quickly, and also be incredibly survivable, Ajax is your guy. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.